such a big topic of conversation in our industry, which is diversity.
Absolutely.
There's a recent study on diversity by Rate My Investor and Diversity VC that over the past 5 years, only 9% of startups were female, 17% identified as Asian American, 2.4% Middle Eastern, 1.9% Latin American, and just 1% is African American. And those are some pretty dismal numbers. Why do you think that both from the entrepreneurial side and the venture side, our industry has just been slow, been a laggard?
I think there's a couple problems. So I think one is, look, the nature of the business has always been a kind of referral and a relationship-driven business. And so, I'll use myself as an example. I was lucky enough to go to school at Stanford. And so look, whether I'd like to think I'm not explicitly biased, but I'm clearly implicitly biased by the networks I came from, right? Like when I'm, hiring a job, I'm more likely to tap into my network. When I'm like, meeting people, we kind of have commonality through network. And so like my own level of diversity is going to be heavily influenced by the diversity of the networks from which I came, which honestly are not very diverse, to be completely honest. And so I think if you believe that, which I think that's a big part of the problem, what we as an industry have to do is we have to make more of an effort to reach out to networks that are not historically connected into our industry, right? And so, for example, I'll tell you something we do, like when we hire for a job internally, we ask our HR team to say, okay, look, go make sure that we send that rec out to groups that might have, African-American candidate pools or groups that might have, female candidate pools, and at least make sure that we're proactively, in addition to putting it on the Stanford website, which we're going to do because we have access to it, let's at least make sure that we're trying to widen the funnel at the top in terms of like the people that we're practically reaching out to who might be good candidates for this job. Now, at the end of the day, everybody's got to compete on their own merits, but at least I think we've got to do a better job of like proactively saying, look, are there networks who have been traditionally left out of this business, and how do we reach out to them? I'll give you another example of what we're doing. We have this fund that we call the Cultural Leadership Fund that we started about 1.5 years ago. The LPs in that fund are African-American influencers, so they're African-American business leaders or in many cases sports leaders who have been kind of big influencers. And part of the idea is to connect them into our portfolio companies for purposes of trying to kind of at least increase their influence there. But an ancillary effect of doing this is it allows us, we get inbound referrals now for African-American led deals, or we get engineers who are African-American who want jobs in the looking for jobs in the industry, and we can help connect them to our business. So it's things like that. We're not going to solve this problem overnight, but I think things like that we have to do more of, which is how do we at least make sure we communicate to the communities who've been left out and make it feel like, okay, there is a path for you in, and again, at the end of the day, you're going to be evaluated based on your own merit, but we've got to kind of like at least give you kind of an opportunity to get in the door. And I think in all these businesses that have these very heavy referral network-based businesses, I think you'll see that diversity is pretty poor in most of those areas, and that's not an excuse at all. I think it's just a reality of how the business works. And I think we've got to do, I think as an industry, we've got to do more to help solve that.
In past interviews I've seen you do, that kind of spoke to me, the lack of connection between networks that seems to lead to sort of the reinforcement of the lack of diversity.
Yeah. Look, I think most people, like I was, I think most people are pretty well intentioned, right? Like some people do harbor pure explicit biases, but like I'm generally an optimist in my view. Is like I think most people are not like that, but people just don't. I think we don't think about it right, which is look, our diversity is informed by the diversity of the networks from which we come, and again, for most of us in this industry, that's not a very diverse network, to be completely honest.
So one last